Alright guys, so this video is going to go over how to perform a single arm dumbbell press, which is a variation I typically like to perform if someone's got a discrepancy in their strength from a left side to the right side, or they've got a lack of stability, a lack of balance in their shoulder. So they've got a lack of control over that region. So what we're thinking about doing is grabbing the middle of the dumbbell. The reason being is if we grab too low or too high, it can typically want to fall in or out, which we don't want. And we want pressure throughout the full hand. When I'm holding the dumbbell, we don't want our wrist bent back. We want the dumbbell in the base of our palm so we don't put stress to the wrist joint. And then what I recommend you do is have a bench set in a high incline, hold onto a cable sack, hold on to something just so you can have a bit more stability, brace a bit better, and perform a bit better throughout. And what I'm thinking about doing is basically like pulling into it. I'm kind of leaning slightly to the right and then pulling into it just to create that stability. And I'm thinking about using my leg to help me kick the dumbbell up. When we perform it, I typically recommend having your elbow tucked slightly. For most individuals, it's a bit more comfortable in the shoulder joint than being all the way out here. So tuck the elbow a little bit at the bottom. In other words, that would be adduct the up arm, if you want the fancy term. So thinking about kicking the dumbbell up, palm facing forward and in slightly, because that will influence our up arm position as you see. And then from there, thinking about keeping the torso square, pressing over the shoulder, air in as we lower and repeat. And I'm thinking about keeping my chest tall but my core tight. So I'm not turning it into like an incline press, foot the stress through my back. And then again, pulling on that bench to create that bit of stability. I'm bringing it a little bit wider at the bottom position, because if you just bring it in here, you'll work a lot of your triceps. So you want your forearm relatively vertical at the bottom position. That's a good way to know you're finishing in an appropriate spot here. And repeat that process. And being super mindful as it gets hard, make sure you don't move the torso to try and finish the rep. Make sure we stay accurate. We want the last rep to look just like the first, but slower and more difficult to perform. They're the most valuable and stimulative reps towards the end, so it's not a time we want our form to slip.